What is decision tables? So decision tables are nothing but, it's a good way to capture the system requirements, some system requirement that contains logical conditions, some logical conditions. So we will get some requirement. It contains some logical conditions. Let's take an example. If you wanted to withdraw some cash from the ATM, there is a rule that the minimum balance should maintain, that is 1,000 rupees, or if it is in a private bank like ICICI or HDFC, the minimum balance should 10,000. Okay, so there are some logic conditions. Based on that logic conditions, we will be testing. Okay, that is, we call it as a decision tables. So capture system requirement that contains logical conditions. Okay, what else? So here everything will be in terms of logical decisions. So let's take one example. Someone from our team, Chalam, is applying a government job. For that, there are some conditions. Okay, even if you apply for police job or some government job, there are some conditions. What are those conditions? So the first condition is age should fall between 21 to 35. This is one condition. What else? This is 21 to 35 is, normally this is for all categories. So we have like a separate categories for SC and ST candidates. They will give 5 years relaxation. That means 35 to 40 can be acceptable for SC and ST candidates. That means they got 5 years relaxation. What is the next condition? For BC candidates, 3 years relaxation. Okay. For physically handicapped or disabled persons, okay, so 5 years for them, also 5 years is relaxation. Okay, so these all are the conditions. So can anyone can just categorize now, look into some category as is. So for OC candidate, I mean general candidate, if the age is 20, then is it a valid or invalid?
Invalid.
Okay. If it is 21,
yes, it's valid.
if it's a 35,
it's also valid.
36,
it's invalid.
What?
Invalid.
Yes. Likewise, we have to come up with this kind of test data. Okay. Similarly for SC, similarly for physical handicap. Okay. For SC candidate, let's take, if the age is 40, then it's valid or invalid?
Valid.
It's valid because we are giving 5 years relaxation. 35 plus 5, 40. Then it's a valid. If it is a 41,
Invalid. Invalid.
Yeah. So the same is applies to physical handicap also. This we call it as a decision tables. Okay, it contains some logical conditions that we call it as a decision tables. So if you got any requirement, you have to validate each and every boundary of the particular requirement. Okay, you should be think logically before writing any test case. Okay, what is state transition testing? What is state? State, the name itself it clearly says. What is state transition testing? So state transition testing in the sense the test cases, to execute the valid and invalid state transitions, both valid and invalid. What are both valid and invalid? Let's say, so today you are going to withdraw money from your ICICI bank. What is the limit per day? Let's take 50,000 is the per day limit. So you went to some ICICI bank and you just inserted your card and withdraw 20,000 rupees. Okay. So your account contains, your account balance is 1 lakh available. But ICICI bank limit per day is 50,000. So you just went and withdrawn 20,000 rupees. Is it a valid? I mean, can you withdraw the cash by using this 20,000 or not?
Yeah, we can withdraw.
So that means
Yes, we can withdraw.
valid. Again, I wanted to withdraw another 20,000. Is it valid or invalid?
Yeah, it's valid.
Again, I wanted to withdraw another 20,000. Is it a valid?
Invalid. Invalid.
Yeah, because the range per day is 50,000, but here we are using 40 completed. When you are trying to withdraw 20,000, the system will not allow you to withdraw. It shows that the per day limit is exceeded. Okay, this we call it as a state transition testing. Okay, yeah. Next, what is use case testing? What is use case testing? This will never ask in interview, these three. Okay, never ask what is decision tables, what is state transition, but I just for knowledge sake I am explaining. So use case testing is nothing but use cases. So if any requirement is in the form of use case, that gives you a clear picture, a clear understanding of the requirement to a particular user or test engineer. So use case testing, the test cases are designed to execute user scenarios or business scenarios. Okay. Which these are designed to execute user scenarios or business scenarios. This is nothing but an interaction between the actors, or which includes the system, users and the system. Okay. I will explain you who is user and who is system. Okay. Here, use case tells about interaction between యాక్టర్స్. యాక్టర్స్ ఎవరు ఉంటారు దీంట్లో అంటే ఇద్దరు, యూజర్స్ అండ్ సిస్టమ్. సో వీళ్ళిద్దరి మధ్యనే ఇంటరాక్షన్ అన్నది జరుగుతుంది. అది ఒక ఎగ్జాంపుల్ సినారియో చూసుకుందాం మనం. ఓకే, ఫస్ట్ యాక్షన్ యూజర్ అంటే నువ్వు, సో మన సమ్ ఎక్స్పర్సన్ మనోడు ఏటీఎంకి వెళ్ళాడు. ఏం చేస్తాడు? ఇన్సర్ట్ ఏటీఎం కార్డ్ పెట్టాడు. ఇప్పుడు సిస్టమ్ ఏం రిప్లై ఇస్తుంది? ఏమడుగుతుంది? సమ్ ఆస్క్ ఫర్ పిన్ నెంబర్, రైట్? సిస్టమ్ అడిగింది. ఇప్పుడు యూజర్ ఏం చేస్తున్నాడు? ఎంటర్ పిన్ నెంబర్. సిస్టమ్ ఏమంటుంది ఇప్పుడు? వ్యాలిడేట్ పిన్ చేసి, పిన్ వ్యాలిడేట్ చేసిన తర్వాత ఆస్క్ టు సెలెక్ట్ లాంగ్వేజ్. యూజర్ ఏం చేస్తాడు ఇప్పుడు? సెలెక్ట్ ది లాంగ్వేజ్, అంతే కదా. నెక్స్ట్ సిస్టమ్ ఏం చేస్తుంది? ఏం అడుగుతుంది మిమ్మల్ని? ఆస్క్ టు సెలెక్ట్ అకౌంట్ టైప్. ఇప్పుడు యూజర్ ఏం చేస్తాడు? సెలెక్ట్ అకౌంట్ టైప్. సిస్టమ్ ఏం అడుగుతుంది? ఎంటర్ ద అమౌంట్ టు విత్డ్రా. యూజర్ ఏం చేస్తాడు? అమౌంట్ ఎంటర్ చేస్తాడు. సిస్టమ్ ఏం చేస్తుంది? డిస్పాచ్ ది క్యాష్. Okay, this we call it as a use case testing. So here everything is between the users, actors. Actors are nothing but users and system. User is nothing but the person who is availing the services. The system is who is providing service to the user. Okay, that we call it as a use case testing. Okay, so any doubts? Any questions? We are going to our next topic, that is what is our next topic? This is very important one, an interview question. Software test process or software test life cycle, STLC. Okay, so can anyone explain what is STLC? What is software test life cycle? Any idea? If some, in interview they will ask you what process you are following, you just say software test life cycle, and they will directly ask what is software test life cycle. So here software test life cycle, the first phase is requirement analysis. What is next phase? This is purely for testing. What is next phase? Test planning. What is the next phase? Test design or development. What is next phase?
Test execution.
Test environment. Next one is test execution. Okay, so if anyone will ask what is the software test life cycle you are following, so we are following few phases which contains requirement analysis, test planning, test design or development. This is nothing but we will be writing the test cases. After that, once the QA environment is ready, then we will be running the test cases which is developed in test design. We will be performing the test execution, and if you found any defects, we will log the defects. Okay, then the final one is test cycle closure. I mean, once we are done with the test execution, all the defects are closed, all requirements are tested, then we will be closing the test cycle. Okay, so these all are the phases. You should by heart all these steps. Now we will discuss one after another. 1 minute. Okay, anybody can explain what we are going to do in the requirement analysis phase? What we will be doing in the requirement analysis phase as a test engineer? This is test life cycle, not SDLC. This is STLC. SDLC is different. That we have gone through here. I mean, in the second day of our session, I think second session, we have discussed SDLC, but this is STLC. This is a test life cycle, purely related to the testing activity. So in this requirement phase, what we are going to do, so entire QA team understand the requirements and identify the testable requirements. ఇక్కడ ఏంటంటే మనం రిక్వైర్మెంట్ అనాలిసిస్ లో whatever the documents we have received from business analyst or client, we try to understand the requirements and identify what can be tested and what cannot be tested. What are the reasons we have to provide the comments or response for the not testable requirements. If it is a testable requirement, then it is fine. Okay. For this requirement stage, on what basis we will be understanding, by looking at which document we will be understanding the requirements? Any idea? So you are understanding the requirements, right? Or identifying some requirements, testable requirements. By looking at which document you are understanding, or getting the details. That we call it as a entry criteria. Entry criteria for this requirement is like requirement document, which is nothing but functional and non-functional document. Okay, that is entry criteria. What is exit criteria in this step? అంటే బయటికి ఎంట్రీ అవ్వాలంటే ఈ స్టెప్ లోకి నీకు ఈ డాక్యుమెంట్ రెడీగా ఉంటేనే నువ్వు ఇది చదవగలవు, ఈ ఐడెంటిఫై చేయగలవు, లేదంటే చేయలేవు. ఒకవేళ అయిపోయింది, అర్థం చేసుకున్నావు, అన్ని చేసుకున్నావు, అప్పుడు ఎగ్జిట్ లో ఏం చేస్తావు? ఎగ్జిట్ క్రైటీరియా ఏంటి? ట్రేసబిలిటీ మ్యాట్రిక్స్. ట్రేసబిలిటీ మ్యాట్రిక్స్ షుడ్ బి ప్రిపేర్డ్. నువ్వు వన్స్ రిక్వైర్మెంట్స్ అర్థం చేసుకున్న తర్వాత ఆ రిక్వైర్మెంట్స్ ఏంటి, దాన్ని హై లెవెల్ గా టెస్ట్ కేసెస్ అన్ని మ్యాప్ చేయాలి ట్రేసబిలిటీ మ్యాట్రిక్స్. ఓకే, ఎర్లియర్ ఐ ఎక్స్ప్లెయిన్ వాట్ ఈస్ ట్రేసబిలిటీ మ్యాట్రిక్స్, వెరీ ఇంపార్టెంట్ వన్. ఓకే, సో ట్రేసబిలిటీ మ్యాట్రిక్స్ is ready. Next, test planning. What is test planning? Do you understand what is traceability matrix? Requirement traceability matrix is nothing but RTM. They will ask in interview question, what is RTM or what is traceability matrix? Okay, this is nothing but mapping of all the test cases with its relevant requirement or scenarios. Call it as RTM, requirement traceability matrix. I will give you one example. Let's take one field like username field or login functionality, some login functionality. It's primary one, you can easily understand. In login functionality is one scenario or one requirement. So what can be the test cases you are going to map with this login scenario? Let's take Gmail login. ఏమేమి వ్యాలిడేట్ చేస్తారు మీరు? టెస్ట్ కేసులు ఏమేమి డెవలప్ చేస్తారు? సారీ, జీమెయిల్ లాగిన్ పేజ్ ఉంది. జీమెయిల్ లాగిన్ లో ఏమేమి మీరు టెస్ట్ కేసెస్ డిజైన్ చేస్తారు?
యూజర్ నేమ్, పాస్వర్డ్,
username,
unique name,
password, home page.
Forward password, home page.
అంటే ఇప్పుడు రైట్ కార్నర్ లో ఒక ఇమేజ్ కనపడుతుంది, రైట్? సో అవన్నీ మనం జీమెయిల్ పేజీకి యూజర్ నేమ్ ఫీల్డ్ వ్యాలిడేట్ చేయాలి, పాస్వర్డ్ ఫీల్డ్ వ్యాలిడేట్ చేయాలి, హోమ్ పేజ్ అలాంగ్ విత్ ఆల్ ఆబ్జెక్ట్స్ అండ్ సబ్మిట్ బటన్ కూడా చేయాలి. ఓకే, సో దిస్ ఆల్ విల్ బి ఏ part of Gmail login. Gmail login is a scenario or requirement. Under this, these all are the test cases. So we mapping all the test cases with the requirement, that is Gmail login. Okay, that we call it as a requirement traceability matrix. Mapping or connecting of all the test cases with its relevant requirement. Our requirement is Gmail login. These are the test cases. We are mapping all these into Gmail login. Okay. Any question? Next, what is test planning? What is test planning? In this test planning, either test manager or test lead prepare test plan and test strategy document. I will explain you what is test plan and test strategy in our tomorrow or day after tomorrow session. Might be tomorrow session only. Okay. So test manager or test lead prepare test plan and test strategy document. In this test planning, okay. So what is the entry criteria for this test planning? రెండు ఉన్నాయి. ఒకటి ఏంటంటే రిక్వైర్మెంట్ డాక్యుమెంట్, ట్రేసబిలిటీ డాక్యుమెంట్. ఆ రెండు ఎంట్రీ క్రైటీరియా, రెండు అవుతేనే మనం టెస్ట్ ప్లానింగ్కి వెళ్తాం. ఓకే, requirement document and traceability matrix are the entry criteria for this. What is the exit criteria? Tell me, what is exit criteria? Exit criteria is nothing but preparation of test plan, test strategy and estimation for this entire project that will be applied in the test planning. Okay, next, test design and development. What is test design and development? In this phase, testers prepare test scenarios or test cases or test scripts and test data based on the requirement document and test plan. Okay, so here in the test design or development, it clearly states that your creation of the test cases. Hello? Okay, so in this phase, so we are going to create or prepare some test scenarios or test cases and test data based on the requirement. Okay, what else? What is the entry criteria for this phase? Entry criteria, ఈ స్టేట్ లోకి ఎంటర్ అవ్వాలంటే ఏం చేయాలి మీరు? ఈ పైనవన్నీ ఉండాలి.
Understanding the requirements.
Requirement, traceability, comma, test plan and test strategy. ఈ 4 రెడీగా ఉంటేనే నువ్వు ఈ ఫేజ్ లోకి వెళ్ళగలరు. నెక్స్ట్ ఎగ్జిట్ క్రైటీరియా. సో దీని నుంచి బయటకు రావాలంటే ఏం రెడీగా ఉండాలి? టెస్ట్ కేసెస్ రెడీగా ఉండాలి, టెస్ట్ సినారియోస్ రెడీగా ఉండాలి, టెస్ట్ డేటా రెడీగా ఉండాలి. ఒకవేళ ఆటోమేషన్ అయితే టెస్ట్ స్క్రిప్ట్స్ రెడీగా ఉండాలి. దీస్ ఆల్ ఆర్ ది ఎగ్జిట్ క్రైటీరియా. ఇవన్నీ కంప్లీట్ అవుతేనే నువ్వు బయటకు రాగాలి. ఓకే. నెక్స్ట్, వాట్ ఈస్ టెస్ట్ ఎన్విరాన్మెంట్? Test environment is nothing but we are having, might be in interview they will ask how many environments we have. We have like QA environment. This is a dedicated testing environment wherein the code once deployed into QA environment, you have to test all the prepared test cases. What all the test cases you are designed in this phase, those all will be executed in the test environment. So the test environment should be very proper and it's deployed correctly. Otherwise, you cannot see the application. Okay. So QA environment setup is nothing but there are multiple. QA is for dedicated for testing environment. Dev environment for developers. UAT for users. Okay. Perf for performance testing. Okay, there are many environments, but we will be working as a QA. Sometimes we call it as a test environment, sometimes we call it as a stage environment. These all are the different types of testing environments. We will be testing our application in these environments only. So we will be validating whether the environment is up and working or not. Okay. Next one, what is test execution? This session is going to close. I will